to me. You're keeping us alive now. You forget about that one. And you keep them coming in. You're doing well, son.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
I want to make it clear that the views expressed by our hosts are not considered the official stance of MBR Views.
There he is.
Dude, they're fucking everywhere, man.
Man, what up, brother?
Nada, man. You know, I just wanted to know if that's what it felt like to be a ghost hunter, you know.
Yeah, getting that paranormal activity on there. You gotta have those, those frequency things and stuff like that too, man.
Yeah, all I got, the closest I got is EKGs. I don't know.
So how you doing today, man?
I'm
It
doing-
is Friday, huh? And we live.
is. That's right, Eric. We are the ghost hunters.
Heck yeah, brother. Welcome in, Eric. Eric from the Contagion Effect Show. What's up, dude?
We're not worthy.
Not worthy. Yeah, man. So let's see what we got in store for today, huh? A little bit of a it's gonna be one of those kind of days.
Hell yes. I've been looking forward to this show too.
Hell yeah, me too, man. Every Friday that we do this, I look forward to it. And I'm already kind of, thinking about next Friday, because it's going to be my turn.
It is.
And I'm between Bigfoot right now. I mean, I really think that's kind of where I really want to go because that's another fascination I've always had. So I think I might go Bigfoot next week.
Okay. It's kind of interesting because that topic came up at Hero Stock.
It did. I know. I got a live story from Barbara. I was like, gosh, dang. All right. Tell me about it.
She even got Sasquatch ear rings.
Yeah, she's a believer now, man. And while we were out in Nebraska, I did actually see some bumper stickers and stuff like that out there with Bigfoot.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, man, we got a lot of people out there that, believe in the old Sasquatch.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Well, you brought up before the show that we never really took the time to introduce ourselves. Should we do that real quick?
Yeah. Start with yourself, man.
All right, man. So Don Dunn, retired Army and host of Two Drunk Dudes in a Gun Room. Also with Gun Room Radio. So started a couple podcasts, having a great time doing it, man. And when this opportunity came up to be with the great Brian Roof, I had to take it, man.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And I'm Brian Roof. I am a United States Marine veteran. Served my country proud back from 2000, 2004. Was part of Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2003. Kind of got out, went to work for a while. Elements got the best of me. Kind of didn't really know what to do. Decided to start up a podcast one day, and bada bing, bada boom. It kind of led me to a lot of different things. Like I'm also part of the Gun Room Radio as well, and a radio DJ 2 days a week, which never thought that would be something in my life. Which, man, I'm appreciative of it. So, and then getting the opportunity to hang out with Donald Dunn and do these conspiracies, which we both really enjoy and look forward to. So it's an opportunity that I think we both are excited about.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I got to pick this one. So, why don't we just go ahead and dive into it? And I want to start this off with my thoughts on spirits, right? I'm a believer. All right. I believe I've encountered ghosts and spirits. And I want to tell a few stories. So I've had a couple incidences, and then I had one that, it was kind of turned out to be bullshit, but it scared the piss out of us. So there was a time that me and my now wife, for all the people that are going to get offended, prior to us getting married, we were younger, and we were downstairs asleep in the bed downstairs. It wasn't a bedroom, but there was a bed down there, and we were both completely asleep, and woke up to the bed just fucking bouncing and fucking shaking, man. And I was still kind of groggy. I sat up, and because I thought she was doing it, and she's looking at me like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah,
and why are you doing it without me?
Right, exactly. Okay, whoa.
I look at her and I was like, "Let's go upstairs." And we went upstairs, man. And we weren't even on the bed no more, and it was still fucking doing its little thing.
Wow,
that was kind of weird. And in the same house, my dad actually passed away while we lived there. And the day after so there was a delay for the actual burial. There was about a week delay from when he actually passed to the time. And the day after he passed, I was walking past our front room, and I literally seen my dad looking in the window from outside. He was looking into the house, and that didn't even affect me. I was just like, "Oh, hey, there's Dad," And then the other time before my dad died, this was just like fucking. It scared the piss out of us, but it turned out to not be a ghost. We were downstairs. It was a sleepover. Me and my best friends were there, and we were playing with a Ouija board, and we were fucking around with it. And I'm sure one of them, it wasn't me, but somebody was moving it, And my buddy Jason goes, just out of the blue, he said, "If we're talking to Satan, give us a sign." And as soon as he finished the sentence, dude, the TV went black. And I was like, "What the fuck?" And then a sign came up that said, this broadcast has gone off the air. It was midnight, and it was like on a public broadcasting channel. So it just went off the air. That's all it was, But just the timing. I don't know. Maybe he knew it was going to happen. I don't know. But that shit was freaky.
Yeah, man. I actually got a Ouija board experience myself when I was a younger kid. Obviously it was something my mom, I grew up in like a religious kind of home, and Ouija board was not something you play with, right? You're going to open up the gates of hell, all this stuff, and you're just like, all right. Well, me and some friends, they whip it out. And, what am I going to do? Like, no, my mom said I can't do this, and bounce, no, I'm going to be like, all right, it's just a little board with a little thing on there. Can't be much. Well, dude, man, I'm telling you, we start playing with that thing, and then all of a sudden the lights flicker off, and they flicker off. And when they come back on, my dude has just blood coming down his nose. So like fast. And he's like sitting there, like almost like seizing up on us. And I'm like, this is a joke, bro. Like this is like, this is going too far. And then like when we brought him and like shook him, man, I'll tell you, he looked pale white, bro. Like it was the weirdest thing. I don't know if he had like an epileptic thing to like the lights or like if it was like legit that Ouija board, man. But I'll tell you what, I would never effed with another Ouija board again, bro. Like I was good. Like no. And I've done things playing like, back in the day, you ever hear of Bloody Mary and stuff like that? Yeah, Bloody Mary.
Yep.
Well, you say the word 3 times and, and the lights are off or whatever. We were playing this as kids in a bedroom downstairs, and it's down in my damn bedroom. And that bedroom is just got like those, like the closets are all mirrors. Mm-hmm. So there's 3 of them, 3 sections. It's a pretty long closet. They're all dang mirrors, bro. So we're playing Bloody Mary, and my little sister's nose starts to bleed when we're playing that. You know, I'm like, man, all right,
Who
I don't know.
the hell's in that house punching people in the nose, man? You might.
It was a good opportunity to take, you know, for my sister to always get me in trouble. Like, lights out, like, oh my gosh, Bloody Mary. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you, dude. That would freak me out right there. That would freak me out.
Yeah, the bleeding of the nose and doing something kind of like that twice, it kind of makes me like, man, I never really dibbed and dabbed into that kind of stuff anymore. You know what I mean? Because I just kind of, I don't know, until, you know, I lost my dad. Like, and when I lost my dad, my stepmom went to go see like a, you know, like someone, like a, I don't know, like a medium type person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she got stuff relayed to her from my dad, right? And some of the stuff, dude, is unreal. Like, so the stuff that she relayed to me, there was this thing in my backyard. I had built this whole koi pond and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my stepmom tells me after, you know, when she comes back and talks to me about all this stuff, she's like, hey, the lady told me that your dad said protect your koi fish because raccoons will get them. I was like, they already did. They just did this past week. Are you kidding me? And she was like, yeah. I was like, this, and I was like, they've never messed with them. You know, I've had the koi forever.
Yeah.
And then one day I go out there and it was like they had a buffet. You know what I mean? Like, damn. You know, and then, but I got that word a little later about it, and I was just like, that is so weird.
Yeah.
Then she said that ways that I would know that my dad is around me is by feathers, right?
Yep.
Let me tell you, dude, craziest stuff ever. Like, one time I was really having a really bad time, and my dad is kind of the one person that I used to go hang out with when I was in my worst times. You know what I mean? Like, he would be the one I go away to. Well, I ended up going up to a creek where I like to go hang out, and I'm like kind of just there by myself in my own head. And dude, I just look down, bro, and there's all these feathers. I didn't notice no feathers or anything when I was up there. You know what I mean? And like, I just look and I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, that's my dad. And then the whole time I start walking around, dude, there's just feathers. I'm like, this is weird. Like, it is kind of weird, man. I went to a different park even, and I was seeing feathers. And I'm like, this is crazy. But where it gets even weirder, dude. So, like, that's out in nature. Yeah, you're going to see feathers, right? Mm-hmm. Well, where it gets kind of crazy, dude, is when we're at the movie theaters. Inside the movie theaters. In line at the concession stand. My 6-year-old goes, because he knows about the whole feather thing. He's like, Grandpa's here. I look down, bro, and there's a feather. I took pictures of this and everything. And another thing that the lady said is that there would be flickering lights as well. So we go into the movie theater, sit down, and all the lights are flickering, dude, inside there. It is the craziest thing. I'm just like, wow. This is unreal crazy, bro. Welcome in, Joel. But also, one other one that really is crazy is my wife and I were in our room. And my wife's over there. She was like folding clothes on the bed. And she's been sitting there for a while. She looks down and she grabs this feather. And she's like, babe, look at this. And I'm like, what the freak? Out of nowhere. And it's like total bird's feather. It's like, where did this come from, dude?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. It's really crazy. Play the fourth. But, yeah, man. I mean, I definitely, before then, I've always been kind of like skeptical about certain things, right?
Right.
It never really, you know, allowed myself to open up to that. But I can't tell me how many times the feathers come up.
I will tell you, you know, I'm similar, right?
Joey.
That I don't believe all these like ghost hunting movies and stuff like that, right?
Right.
I do believe in spirits. I do believe in ghosts, and I do believe in other dimensions and stuff like that. What I don't necessarily agree with is how the shows kind of like make things out to be they're not. Like, they'll be watching something and all of a sudden a flashlight that's not even in the screen, and they'll be like, that flashlight wasn't on a minute ago, but you don't see it come on. It just, they flash to it and it's on. So I don't believe in that type of stuff, right? But I do believe in things that, you connect with, like your dad, like me seeing my dad after he passed, and I've never seen him again after the burial. So I don't know if that's a thing, or if that's, you know, once he's in the ground, he's gone. Was that a coincidence? I have no idea, And when we went to Heroes Dock, I just went and visited his grave, and I didn't really feel anything as far as like a presence or, you know, memories and stuff like that, but nothing that would tie me to him and say, "Hey, you're here." You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's been so many weird things that happen, and you just can't explain. That it's just not. It's not possible that you can just say ghosts don't exist. I mean, there is some scientific evidence, and here in a little bit down the show, I got an article, and then you got universities that are spending money studying this phenomenon, and I do believe that ghosts and energy and stuff like that can affect lights, and it's all frequencies, so it is possible. I just think that there's nobody out there that is trustworthy to say, okay, yeah, you're not a gimmick,
Well, that's just like everything else, man. There's so much fake stuff out there
yeah,
that it bogs down if there's reality to things, because there's a lot of people out there that just want to clickbait, want to get famous off of, saying, oh, I saw this, sheet walking around. It's like, nah, bro. You know what I mean? It's, you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. For me personally, I've always been a skeptic of it, and but I also don't try to shut my mind. Same thing with like aliens and all that stuff like that. You try not to like until you. The thing is, it's like if you haven't really seen it, it's hard to believe it type stuff. When you hear nothing but stories and you never really experienced it yourself, and you've been around the world for a long time or whatever, it's kind of like I don't know, you know what I mean? But it's hard to say because there are so many like real documentary things that I've seen that are like really hard to fake, like people being like exorcism type things and people being possessed.
Yeah.
I don't know. But then again, it's hard, man, when you're seeing it on a video or something like that. There's so much things that people can do to make the video look real, so it's hard.
So here is my argument, right? And this comes with people of faith, right? There's been a lot of people. Nick, just a heads up, man. We don't share the link no more. There was a guy that wanted to come on a show, and I don't remember whose podcast it was on. Was that on yours, Brian?
Yeah, dude. That guy, at least he's my cousin, so I at least know he's cool. But
Nick. Okay.
I do know Nick at least. Yeah, we've had some problems sharing our link on here though.
Yeah, people trying to jerk off in a bathtub.
Yeah, got a little spicy.
But my thoughts is like if you believe in heaven, right? but you don't believe in hell, then I can't really agree with your faith. You can't have one without the other. You know what I mean? Especially when the Bible that you follow talks about it, right? So I feel that way about spirits, right? If you believe that there's a soul in a person and that soul moves on, then how can you not believe in ghosts?
Right.
Because, I'm sure there's a like halfway point. You're like, well, you weren't the best, but you sure as hell weren't the worst. Where the hell do we put you? And I'm thinking like the locker room for the Bengals cheerleaders, like that. But, maybe that would fall under heaven. I don't know. But, I believe that there has to be a waiting room. I mean, coming from the military, I'm so used to waiting. So it's like when I die, I'm like probably going to have to sit on a bench or something and wait till my number's called. But you can't believe in the soul and not believe in a spirit.
Right.
I mean, that's what I'm getting at. Now, I think the reason why a lot of people don't believe is because of what we were just talking about, the way the movies perceive it and talk about it and shit like that. I don't believe that that's what we're talking about. Yeah, Derek's got a point. So the VA is purgatory. Yeah, it sure as hell is. But I do believe that um, there is evil out there,
Mhm.
just because I have a hard time believing that some of the stuff that I've seen and other people have told me about, just from our conflict, that the last 20-year war, that it's hard to imagine that somebody with a soul could do something like that under his own thoughts and capabilities. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I do believe that you can be possessed, and I do believe that there is good and evil, and all that stuff kind of goes together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I'm kind of along the same line. I mean, it's like the same thing, dude. You think like when you die, does it just go black and then it's over, or does your soul carry on? And at this rate in time, there's stories about people who said they've died and came back and they've seen the light or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Have but they did, to me. I mean, in that way, you didn't really die. You died, but you didn't die. You know what I mean? Because you're still alive. So it's hard for me to. I don't know at what point do we. I don't know. I don't know. For me, I feel like there's a point where our souls definitely move on and we go into something. I can't really explain what it would be, but I know from what I've dealt with and stuff. I mean, the thing about it is a lot of people take things for granted because they read a Bible or, and they take what that word is said or whatever. But there is, there's a religious form and spiritual world that, there's good and evil. You can definitely feel it in the air. You know what I mean? And
have one without the other. You can't have,
and you could
sad,
you could
have good
definitely feel it, man. You know what I mean? And it's put in so many different ways, because the more that you can create division, that's more that's evil, creating division, because then you hate someone for something, so I mean, I do believe that there is that spiritual world where there's evil and good, and I mean, there's probably a big fight that's going to happen one day, over the whole thing. I mean,
yeah. So let me ask you this. I just heard this on a podcast this week, and it kind of goes along with this topic that we're talking about. It was one of the guys that was in the Benghazi incident. It was on Sean Ryan, and he made a comment about his faith and his belief that he is 100% convinced, and he flat out said this on the podcast, that your body is a meat suit. It is a vessel, and that once you die, your soul is gone, right? And he said that he does not want anybody to risk their lives to come back and get my meat suit, because it ain't me no more. Right? It's just a piece of meat.
Right.
And so I do believe along those lines, but then something really fucked up that happened, and I was like, man, I just don't know how I'd feel about that. So they were on top of a roof, right? And when they were trying to get off the roof, there was already some that were dead. I know for a fact at least one, right? So they were climbing down this ladder to get off the roof, and the people that came in to help them, was obviously we don't leave nobody behind. But instead of carrying the dead down the ladder, they just chucked them off the side of the 15, 20 foot tall building, and it's like, wow, man, how do you, that you're really, man, that's, you're watching somebody's chuck your buddy that you've served with off the side, but is it your buddy? Is it a spirit? And just like what that other guy said, that was there as well, and it split the team up. There was a guy on the team that really bothered him. And then the guy that was on the show, it didn't bother him because he believes that he's gone, that's no longer him anymore. And it's like, man, I'm on that fence because I believe your spirit, your ghost, that's what makes you. Everything else that's physical about us is just physical. It's muscles and tissue and stuff like that. And yes, there has to be life, but without a soul, would there be life?
Right. I mean, what explains, what do you think explains the hauntings in places that are really, like I got right here 10 of the most haunted places in the world. One of them is Moundsville Penitentiary. It was during its more than 100 years in operation. The Moundsville Penitentiary in West Virginia was one of America's most violent correctional facilities and a final stop for almost 1,000 criminals. The prisoners lived in cramped quarters, which led to riots. Many men were hung or killed in the electric chair, while others murdered by other prisoners. The prison closed in 1995, but according to some, the tortured spirits are still behind bars and in the bowels of the prison and may be seen or heard on a tour. So, I mean, do you think that some of these hauntings are caused by people that were treated, poorly or just had a bad experience in life, and then their joke back is to scare everybody? I mean, I don't know, what, because I mean, always it talks, it seems like a lot of the hauntings are always at places of where there was torture, there was something going on, family got killed there, or, these are the stories you always hear in terms of where the hauntings are. And is it just because those spirits are stuck in a bad place because they got taken away prematurely? I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's weird. So that there's certain places that, they deem as a haunted place.
So let me ask you this, right? If at the end of the day, right, I say I discourage and I don't believe the TV type stuff, right? And I can vouch that both of my experiences that happened didn't come from a place of, torture and that I know of, Now, who knows? Maybe that house was buried on a grave from the World War II or Civil War era or something, I have no idea. But to my knowledge, there was nothing negative that happened. And we never had anything negative happen to us from it either. And like I said, one of them was my dad. So I don't know that it's so much of like what happened in someone craves more food because they have a tapeworm. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of crossed my mind as well, is like, if I die, would I want to go to heaven, or am I happy where I'm at? And so that I could see that thought process being there, but I kind of wonder if it's more about faith. I mean, so again, I don't push religion. You know, I do personally believe in God, but let's say you don't believe, right? It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean that you were that negative that you deserve to go to hell for that. But it doesn't mean you're going to go into heaven to be with him either, because you haven't accepted him, right? So isn't it possible that that middle ground, that haunting, is just people that didn't have any kind of a faith or a believer in a higher power? You know, I don't know. I mean, I haven't died, but you know, I don't. To me, that's, you know, that could be a theory that, you know, there's no way to prove it. You know, because I do agree with you. There's science that can explain the, I seen the light and the white and the peacefulness and all that stuff, right? As I was coming back alive, you know, Scotty talks about that in one of his videos about how that light and everything, that whiteness, comes from blood being rerouted to organs to keep you alive, that you lose your eyesight because there's no blood flow going through there anymore.
Yep.
You know, so you can discourage that.
Yep. So I mean, that's the thing, man. I mean, it's hard to say, and I guess, you know, you don't really know until you're gonna know. You know what I mean? And a lot of the things that happen, I haven't really gone to a place where, you know, I'm like, oh, I'm in a haunted place, you know, and I've felt like some crazy stuff happen. But you know, I've definitely, like I said, when my stepmom talked to a medium and then relayed all those informations about my dad, and here's some signs that you're going to know your dad's around you, or, you know, and when that started happening, I was like, dang, man, dude, that's where it really started getting onto my, you know, where my thought process was like, dude, is there something going on here? You know what I mean? Because finding feathers in the most randomest places, and then flickering of lights and things of that nature, just during certain points and times, and when I would even think out loud about it, that's not even the end of like all the things that lady had expressed and talked about. It's just some of it. So it's like, man, it's just crazy to me how many different things have happened since I've heard about it. So it's either so coincidental, you know what I mean, that now all of a sudden I'm recognizing feathers that I never used to recognize or something before. But I don't know, man. It is kind of weird to me. And especially there's times where I'm like, Dad, man, miss you, man. And then like something crazy or weird will happen, you know?
So without being in the room with the medium at the same time with your mom, there's no way to know. But I can tell you, there's also no way in hell she knew you had koi fish, let alone knew that something was going to kill it.
Dude, that part right there blew me absolutely away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's just something. I mean, I can't see your mom just sat down and was like, yeah, I'm here. I want to connect with, you know, my husband that had just passed away. You know, what's your thoughts on my son's koi fish? I just don't see it a topic or
No.
that coming up in any possible way.
No, and what she said is how it worked is that people would keep coming in and out or whatever. My dad stayed there the longest. But even like my grandpa, she said, my grandpa who had passed away, came through to tell her stuff to relay back to me, which is weird because how does that lady know that my grandfather, and like, it's crazy too. What was weird is she actually had like expressed what they look like and like what they're doing. And so like both of them, like my grandpa and my dad were both masons. They built block walls and stuff like that. They all their life. As a matter of fact, my grandpa, who was my mom's dad, hired my dad when he was like 15, and you know, he worked for my grandpa for many years. And so that's what I'm saying. There's so many things. Like she said that they are sitting there building their homes and stuff like that. They're making and they're like in their best form of their body. And I'm like, oh man, that's crazy. Like just the things that she was saying, it almost gave me a sense though, like of relief though, man, because when my dad died, dude, my head went immediately to like, where's he at now?
Yeah.
Where was what's next for my dad? You know, my head's thinking in that, like, where did he go? Is what's next for him? You know, because it's like, dude, the one thing that each and every one of us, it's guaranteed for us in the world is to die, man, to pass on. You know, every single person in this world, that's part of what we have to go through as being a human being. Yes, I mean, some of us get 50 years, some of us get 100 years, some of us get only a couple of hours, and not even, you know. So,
and if that isn't one of you, then you're going to be on our show because you just proved our point. Supernatural out there.
Yeah. You know, and by the way, everybody out there, we are going to open up the show. We will have some guests on. We'd love to hear other people and their experiences as well. It's always fun to get them all out there. And if you like to email us and send us some of your, things that you would like us to share, we will share them right here on the show. So more than welcome to email me, and we'll share your story, or maybe get you on at some point in time and have you share your story as well. But yeah, I mean, dude, it's crazy because there's so many different spins on it. There's a lot of movies out there too, you know what I mean? And it's always been a part of our culture, it's been a part of a lot of people's cultures, as a matter of fact. So
again, this kind of is another thing that is proves. I mean, it really doesn't prove, but it has to make you question, right? I do believe in psychic abilities, right? And for anybody who knows me, I am really good at playing poker, right? I played a lot of poker online, won a lot of money, lost a lot of money, right? And there would be times, man, that I would make a call before the next card would come out, and a vision of that card would come into my head, and that would be the card. After it didn't ever happen until after I made the bet. Some could argue that your brain, from playing as much as I was playing, was picking up on algorithms and patterns, and I am not that fucking smart. I can barely say algorithm, let alone pick up on an algorithm. But so I do believe that there, look, and you can go to any science WebMD or whatever, they only know about 10% to 20% of our brain function.
Right.
The rest of it, they don't know what it does and what it's capable of. So if all you're reaching is the tip, man, you don't really know the full enjoyment you're going to get until you get the whole thing. So
oh, man, I was like, wow, man, just the tip.
That's all you get.
That was a good analogy, though, man. I mean, I ain't gonna lie.
Where we're at, you only get a little bit of information and a little bit of knowledge, and if that's the truth about the majority, maybe we all can use a little bit more, a little bit less, but even the smartest people in the world are still only using partial of their brain. Maybe we do know about spirits and ghosts and what happens after we die, but there's just that block that we just can't reach it to say, hey, maybe there's an ejecto-ceto, cuz, and once you die, you hit that button and your spirit just fucking hauls ass. But I don't know.
Yeah, so that's kind of crazy too, Nick. What's crazy too for me, Nick, is when my dad passed, I had a dream about him, and it was the craziest dream in my that I ever experienced. It felt like it was so real, and I got to hug him, but he was like, I only got 5 seconds. And literally he was just gone. And but I mean, for those 5 seconds, dude, it literally felt like he was there, and he was just like, I can't stay here. I'm not even supposed to be here. And he's like, I got 5 seconds. And it was like the craziest thing, man. And then when I woke up, it was kind of like I felt like, oh my gosh, dude. And I haven't had another dream about him since. You know what I mean? And I love that dream because it was like the most vivid dream I ever felt, where I felt like I was legit hugging my dad, man. And I was like, wow. And like this, what he said. And then it's crazy because I talked to my stepmom about it. She's like, I kind of had the same exact dream. And he had 5 seconds. And I was like, what? I mean, it's just, some of that stuff is just, you know, you call it coincidental. How coincidental can some of that get? You know what I mean? Especially with the lady who was able to know about the koi fish, know just so many intimate things about my dad and my relationship, because my dad and I were really close. You know what I mean? Like, we went on trips together. We did a lot of things together. You know, he was like my best friend. Was he the best dad growing up? No, but like we became best of friends. You know, and that's probably how it's always been. Really, there's never been a dad son relationship. It's always been more of a friendship. Even when I was a kid, you know what I mean? He was always kind of like except if I ever did something, you know, of course he'd dad up real quick on me. but I mean, he's the closest person that I've lost other than my grandpa.
Right.
And so I've lost some good friends along the way, but not as close. Like, I mean, obviously his family.
Right.
And so in my daughter, I feel like she has almost like a certain thing, because she has heard him call out her name. She's felt someone sit on a bed next to her. You know, and then she was telling me the story about it. She was like, I just didn't want to wake up and give him any, you know, attention. So she's like, I was so scared. But she's had some really crazy encounters herself about my dad. So you know, I don't know if it's because you love someone so much or something that your mind wants to see them, and so you create those opportunities. It's hard to say, you know what I mean? But honestly, yeah, most powerful dream I ever had. I had to tell my girlfriend because I wanted to call it out loud. Yeah, wow.
So
Yeah,
to co-sign what you're saying, and you talking about this just reminded me of this event. So after my dad had died, years later, my mom had a boyfriend that I became close with, and it was kind of because at that time I was entering that transition between kid and adult. So you kind of needed that mentorship as your life was changing, right? And he kind of filled that role for me. And so I became really close to him. Well, they ended up breaking up years later down the road after I was in the military. And I was still fairly close to him, but I hadn't talked to him in years, right? So I'm on a C-130 going from Kuwait to Afghanistan. And just out of the blue, right, I'm just sitting there. I get this feeling like, man, I need to call Bob. I ain't talked to him in a long time. I need to just call him, see how he's doing. And it was just a feeling. It went through my mind. So it was one of those, I was like, okay, I'll just check that block. You know, I get back to the States, I'll give him a call. And I landed, and I called my wife after we got landed, and to tell her, you know, that I'd made it there, because I didn't know if I was going to be able to talk to her again after we left there. And so I called her, and she says, hey, I didn't know if I really should tell you this or not, but I want you to know before you hear it from somebody else. She said, Bob passed away last night. Dude, I mean, I hadn't thought of calling him in years. And we're talking about a 4.5 hour time frame from the time that, you know, and I haven't done any research to find out what time it was in the States when that thought went through my mind versus when he died. But like I said, I hadn't talked to him for years. The thought to call him hadn't even gone through my mind until that moment.
Yeah, see, that's kind of crazy, man. The intuition thing. It's just like, that is a crazy thing. So Derek Thompson got a question for us. To go with ghosts, do y'all believe in demons? Yeah, we both kind of basically said, in the way we look at it, there's good, there's evil. And you got to, like Donald said, you can't have one without the other, really. I mean, it's kind of a true fact.
Yep. If nothing bad ever happened to you to make you sad, then you would never have anything that can happen to you to make you happy. You would always just be in that middle ground. You'd never be happy. You'd never be sad, because there is no sad. And what you're feeling, you don't have anything to say, okay, now I'm no longer this, because it doesn't exist. So I must be on this other end. You're always going to be that middle, and that's why I'm also a fan of just believing that, the cup is always half full. Because if you look at it as it's always a half empty. Again, this is just me, but I do believe that there's parts of us that can make things happen. If you pray about it, dream about it, wish upon it, just the thought process of changing your thought mind from if this happens to when this happens. This is going to happen. Gunroom Radio will be the best radio station ever. And when you start saying things like that over and over and over again, it's like the damn galaxy just aligns and the stars align for you, and it just happens. They even talk about this same concept, right, in martial arts. When they tell you to break that board, they tell you to vision you breaking the board, not vision you hitting the board. Right. They tell you to look past that board, and that's your target. Your target is on the backside of that board. And I kind of believe that with spirits and all the supernatural that we're talking about comes from a little bit of that. There's things that that you don't know, and those things leak out every once in a while, i.e. a vision, i.e. Somebody dying and you were connected to them. You align with people. I mean, it's just the way it is.
So there's been a big thing, as recent, like the whole positive manifestation thing, and having positive thoughts and manifesting positive thoughts in your mind, and those things coming true. It's definitely been something that's been going around. What's crazy, dude, is the whole thing with a positive mindset too is it gets you in a better place. You know what I mean? Whenever you start doing negative, it seems like everything in the world just starts happening bad, and then everything on you is falling down, and you can't pick it up. You know what I mean? And you feel like that world is just, everything is collapsing on you, and the world's against you.
Yep. And I'm not saying it's a spirit thing. I'm not saying that's God making it. I'm saying I 100% agree with you that you can wish things in motion.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to tell you another story that's kind of freaky, right? It's unexplainable. I'm not going to use any names because I'm still really good friends with this person, and it's kind of a fucked up story. Okay. But so me and Joe was talking. We were both in the military together, and we're now out of the military, and he's going through a really rough patch, right? To the point where me and him was going to drive truck together. And a week before we were supposed to go to school to start our new jobs, he got a letter saying, you no longer have a driver's license due to child support. All right. He had two kids from two different women. One, he was paying the full amount. He didn't have enough to support his family to pay the full amount for the second one. So he was paying half of what was owed, but it was putting him in the rear, right? And he was mad because that same situation was also one of those situations where he would call and she wouldn't let him talk to his daughter. He would try to get her for the summertime, and the family would not allow her to come, even though the court orders says they have to. They knew he didn't have the money to go hire an attorney. He's in Georgia, they're in Pennsylvania, and there's no way in hell he's going to come up there to start a court case because he just doesn't have the money, right? He looks at me out of frustration, and that's all it was frustration. And he said, why can't that bitch just die? Right? And I said, you better be careful, man. I said, if it ever happens, they're going to investigate you. And later that week, she overdosed. So, yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer that if you wish something, you can make it happen. You're muted, Brian.
Yeah, I'm definitely in agreement with you on that. 100%. I definitely think that our minds are way more powerful than we give them. And the thing about it is too, man, we don't even know probably how powerful our minds really are. You know what I mean? Because
right. I agree.
They say we only use a portion of it, right? I mean, the other portion we just can't, I guess, get in touch with. But I mean, I don't know, man. When it comes back to the whole spiritual thing, it's definitely something out there that I have gotten way more of attention to and believe there's something else. You know what I mean? There's a higher being.
Yep.
There's evil. There's good. And you can see it in the world too, man. I mean, and what I'm realizing is how much things were put into place that were false narratives for us all to fall in line with.
Absolutely.
And that turns into religion and making different religions and all this stuff. And then they start kind of fighting against each other over their religions, things like that. I don't think God intended us to sit there and decide to make a club up and then go against each other's clubs. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the way I see it almost in that spiritual world. And now you're starting to see, the false prophets and stuff that are starting to come out, and they're pastors. They're mega churches. They're on TV making multi-million dollars, but not supporting a community and stuff like that. So,
I when I talk about this, I tell people, I believe in God, but what I'm referring to isn't so much about heaven and hell.
Right.
I am referring to our spirits, something happens to them, and there is a higher power, whether that is just another dimension, whether that is heaven and hell, whether that's just, energy, it's something. I'm not saying that it's God related, because there is a lot of things out there that question my faith. And I'm not super religious. I don't go to church because of those exact reasons that you just talked about. And I do know that the Bible has been rewrote, edited, and done so many times that, I don't know
translated too from different languages, bro. Like, and that's other troublesome. When you start to learn about man and what man's capable of doing, bro, and then, how much trust you want to put in men in the world. You know what I mean? That's the thing, because you don't know someone who, there's always the wolves in the sheep soup, the ones that are out there that you think they're really great people, but they're all bad. You know what I mean? And you fall in line with it because they seem like they're good people.
Right.
They go to church, they pray. They can't be a bad person because, I see them every Sunday here at church. So they're great. Those kind of things are, it just, You know, in the spiritual world, man, it's I think everybody's got to watch out because they may be falling down. They may be going down where the wolf's leading them down, the sheep.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it definitely all comes back to you got to think for yourself, you know,
You do, man.
and the whole spirits and ghosts and stuff like that. I've just seen too many things that cannot be scientifically explained. I'm a very logical person. I really am.
Yeah. I
You know,
am too.
if you can give me a logical answer, I will go down the logic side before the theory side all day long. You know, if you can show just like the whole blood leaving your eyes and that's the white you're seeing,
Makes sense.
it makes
Yep.
perfect sense to me. That's logic.
Right. And I honestly never really thought about it until I heard that story about it.
Yeah, me too.
Like, you know, I was like, oh no shit, that makes sense. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And
Yep.
I mean that was his experience when he was losing his blood. He would feel that all of a sudden it would just be blank white light and then or black, you know, and then it just going back and forth. It's crazy.
And I do completely. So the article that I got, I just want to talk a little bit about.
Let's do it.
Talks about the theory of what they call a sleep paralyzed.
Oh
Right.
yeah. Yep.
Have you
Yep.
heard of it?
Yes, I definitely have.
I have had experiences with this where I have woke up from a couple different ways. One was just from really bad dreams. But when I woke up, I knew I was awake, but I could not move. I was having a hard time breathing. I couldn't sit up. I couldn't do anything. It was just like I said, I was paralyzed. So I chalked that up as it's just, you know, from fear, bad dream, right? And all my senses slowly came back to me. You know, my breathing was heavy, like I just got done running a race, and chalked it up. Fear, adrenaline, right? Well, then I've had dreams where the same thing, where I'm laying there and I'm awake, but it's like I'm looking at myself. Does that make sense? Like I'm above me looking down and I can't fucking move. You're muted again, brother.
Yeah, I don't know why he keeps doing that. Yeah, definitely, dude. I've actually heard several people that I know go through this exact same that you're talking about.
And the article talks on the science side. They say that it's like a glitch in the matrix. You know, your mind knows what it's supposed to do for dreams. You know, they don't necessarily know why it does that, but it knows what it's supposed to be doing, and it knows it's supposed to do it while you're sleeping, but for some reason it happens while you're awake.
So my daughter, when she was younger, went through these whole night terror things.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll come back to that stuff, but it sounds like there's the sleep paralysis part, and then there's this night terror part where you're living the actual dream, but it looks, you know, you're up and you're walking around.
Yeah.
But that's not the reality. You're in your dream. My daughter,
Right.
I'll tell that story when we'll go through your you have a write up, you said?
Yeah. So the article here, I'll show it. I'll share it. Let me share my screen.
Yeah.
I can find my little mousey there. But so this was actually a college study, right, that I found. Share screen. I think it's that one. So let me scroll back up here to the. I gotta add it. Head to the stage. There we go. All right. So when you scroll back up, right, it talks about how these are like situations that this happened, right? And it talked about the sleep paralysis. It talked about photographs. Like there's a lot of people that were just taking selfies, not selfies, but somebody took a photograph of them. This particular, where the page is at now, it talks about a guy that went to Tombstone. He dressed up as a cowboy and had a buddy take a picture of him. And when they got the film developed, there was a guy standing behind them, and he tried to recreate that photo, and there was no way for him to recreate it because it wasn't digital without the legs showing. No matter what he did, you could see their legs or a sheet trying to hide the legs. But when he took that picture, he thought it was just him and his buddy. And then when the photo was developed, there's this cowboy standing in the background. Right. And I've heard several stories about that, about different scenarios. Right. Let's see. There was another one about poltergeist, and I think that kind of gets back into where we're talking about the evil versus the positive, right? So the reason why I brought this up is this particular, I mean, you can see this particular was a college paper with research done. You know, this wasn't something that was done from like Ghostbusters or fucking something like that.
Right.
So I think there is things out there to show that there's studies being done by college level people because there's enough evidence out there that something's happening,
Right.
whether it's ghosts, spirits, dimensions. And we were just on the alien topic a couple Fridays ago, and that whole dimension thing, you know, talks about this, and I'm going to throw this out there too. There is theories out there that the aliens don't come to Earth. They're already here, right? Not like Men in Black. It's like they work off of a different frequency, and they unless they come and they change their frequency to ours, that's the only way we can see them, feel them, and so forth. When they're operating on a different frequency, then they're in like another dimension, right? It's like they're manipulating time in a way, right? So what if some of the stuff that we're seeing isn't so much that it's ghosts, it's pieces of this other dimension that comes through, you know?
Well, I mean, it is crazy, dude, because you always hear about how there's time lapse, there's places and that have like time like holes and stuff like that. It's not too far fetched to think that that's a possibility as well. But let me kind of tell you a story about my daughter and how she had these night terrors, and I never knew what night terrors were at all. But let me tell you, dude. So, it was one night she had there was a little girl that was staying with us. She was sleeping on the bottom bunk, and then my daughter was sleeping on the top bunk. Well, the little girl was crying because she was like having like growing pains, and like her knees were bothering her, you know. So go in there, and she's crying. And my daughter, she's sleeping on the upper bunk, and she's kind of like making noises, like you could tell she's having like a bad dream, and she's just like, no, leave me alone. And I'm just like, I go and like put my hand on her to kind of like wake her up a little bit. Well, now I know you're not supposed to do that. But when I did that, dude, I'm not even kidding you, bro. It looked like she just stood straight up on top of the actual bunk bed. Like her sheet and everything just went up. Like she literally went from her feet like up, just upright. Wow. And then all of a sudden, she's pacing back and forth on top of a bunk bed, bro. And she's going back and forth, Dad, dude, you're going to pinch me. I can't tell you what's going on. And I'm like, what? She's starting to trip me out at this point. I'm like, what do you mean you can't tell me? I'm thinking something bad happened to her at this point in time. You know, she's a little girl and stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is she like reliving something? So she's just in there and then she's like, they're going to pinch me. And I'm like, oh boy, she's like having some kind of weird dream. So I grab her and I take her off the bunk, dude. When I take her off the bunk bed, she just goes bolting out to the living room. When I go out to the living room and she's doing these circles and she's doing this weird thing with her body and it's going, she's making this weird noise, dude. And she's like doing this thing like where bro, I can't even mimic what she was doing. And she keeps making these noises. And she's like, they're gonna pinch me. And I'm like, what are you? I'm gonna call the cops. I'm thinking, that she's making me freak out, man. I'm like, I'm gonna call the cops. She's lost it mentally. Like, I mean, she is doing something I've never seen. She's like doing her like legs up too, and she's just making the weirdest voices, going in circles, bro. And then all of a sudden, she just takes off, bolting back to the room. I go following back to her, and she just comes out like, "What's wrong, Dad?" What do you mean, what's wrong?
Listen here.
I'm about to call the cops on you. Like, you freaked me out. She's like, what happened? And I'm just like, and she's like, oh my gosh, tell me I didn't have like a freak out. She's like, that happened at my mom's house. And I had heard the whole story that she did this at her mom's house. But she went flying downstairs without missing any stairs in the complete dark and just went running downstairs like no problem. Like, it's the craziest thing, dude. And then another time, my wife had done like curlers in her hair, before she went to bed.
Mm-hmm.
So at our house, we have double doors, right? They're like French doors, but if you pound on one, it rattles the other door, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're dead ass asleep and just hear, she's like screaming and she's like pounding on the door. And we're like, and she's like, just freaking out, man. And that woke us up from a dead ass sleep. I go out there and she's like, I can't win. I gotta win. And I'm like, win what? She's like, I gotta win. And I'm just like, what are you trying to win? And she goes and sits on her bed, dude. And she's like doing these things with her feet. Like she's just like playing with her feet together. And I'm like, she's having another night terror again. And the weirdest thing is every time she would talk to me when she was going through this, dude, it looked like she was looking through me.
Yeah.
But she was talking, it's like to something.
Like there's no soul.
Dude, yeah, it's the freaking, man. When I saw that, I was like, what the hell is this? And is that things back in the day that happened? Because after I went through this, I did some research on it. And I was like, night terrors. I've never even heard what the hell that was, dude.
Yeah. And
come to find out, it's a thing. And sometimes it could go all the way into adulthood. So it's like that part is kind of like, is unexplained a little bit too. Like what is going on at that moment in time where your body is doing things, but you don't have any kind of capabilities or knowing what you're doing. You're doing it subconsciously while you're sleeping. You wake up, you have no clue that you just went out and did all that. So that part's weird.
And the other part about this too is I'm assuming, that there wasn't anything in her life that necessarily brought this on. Like she had some sort of traumatic event and then they started, right? So
most of the time that this actually kind of happened is say she had a fever and she was a little sick or something. These episodes come on primarily when she's spiking a fever.
Okay.
So I don't know what subconsciously that does to your body when your temperatures go above a certain point. I don't know if psychologically that would set her down a path. I don't know. It's just, it's unexplainable to me.
Well, I do know if your temperature gets high enough, hallucinations and stuff can happen.
Yeah, right.
But, you're talking like life-threatening temperatures. Like you're ready to
over like 104 temperature. Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
So I think personally, again, this goes back to everything that my theory base is always going to come back to the brain, right? That there's a wall in our brain that has all these answers that for whatever reason, we can't access them, right? You've already stated that you thought that, your daughter has some gifts, right? So why couldn't it be that whatever she was fighting was something that she was seeing from that other dimension?
I ain't gonna lie, bro. I thought she was possessed, and I literally thought I was gonna have to put her in a bin, like a loony bin. I mean, I'd never seen that, dude. It was so scary because I never experienced something like that in my life. But she literally looked like she was possessed. And I mean, the way she looked through me and the way her teeth were chattering, bro, like in making the weirdest noises and honestly doing things that she can't even replicate. Like she can't even go do what she was doing, like rubbing her legs like together as she's standing there and then doing this weird thing and the chattering of the teeth. I mean, I for whatever that has haunted me, bro.
Yeah.
Because I'd never seen something like that, but it literally looked like she was like possessed. And like I'm thinking, oh my gosh, dude, is something wrong with my daughter now forever, you know?
Yeah.
But when she snapped out, I was like, what the hell was that?
And this is another situation, kind of what you were hitting on earlier, where we're in this predicament where you can't even trust doctors or anything anymore, because even in the mental health field, right? Yeah. We all know it is about money, and they have definitely monetized PTSD and all these behavioral issues that they can't cure, they can't call it. So if you tell somebody that they have a personality disorder, and then you try to put them on medication, the insurance ain't going to cover that. So they rename it to bipolar because the insurance company will cover that. So how can you believe a system that tells you, hey, your daughter's having an episode, and the reason why is because of this, and this is what she's got, and we're going to have to put her on this kind of medication, when we already know that it isn't about troubleshooting. If it's something I can't understand or I don't know what's wrong with it, I will pick a name that insurance company covers, and we will continue to treat whatever they cover, not what's wrong with you, but what they cover. So I think that's another reason why we have this problem of, if you walk in and you ask a bunch of investors, hey, we need to bring some money so we can determine whether there's ghost spirits and other dimensions or if people are nuts. And there isn't an investor out there in the world that's going to say, sounds like a great idea, because I'll never be able to, monetize this.
Playing the other side of this a little bit, dude. What if people are in tap with the part of a brain that, like, a lot of us, like you said, like I was telling you earlier, bro, like we only use a certain part of our brain. What if some people are able to tap into other parts of their brain and they're able to see things or stuff that maybe we can't because that part of the brain ain't functioning? I don't know. It's something to almost think about as we were talking about it. It was like kind of just dawned on me, like, man, what if it is a whole thing of, because think about it, like people have like schizophrenia and things like that. They have hallucinating. They put themselves in a whole new reality.
Yeah.
At times, you know what I mean? That no one around them can see, but they can see. And there's been movies out there about this stuff, which kind of, puts a little bit more of like what their visions are and stuff. But like, think about it. Their brain, another part of their brain must be firing that we don't use or whatever to make that kind of a thing happen.
And again, there's just not any studies out there that's willing to take these theories on to try to figure out. It sure has, Taylor. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, this topic is kind of down your
guys' spooky bitches alley.
Yeah. But so I mean, I agree with you. That's my theory the whole time is that there's dimensions and things that happen around us that we can't see because it's all energy based, and we're talking now frequencies and stuff like that,
but maybe now there's people that know how to learn and have learned how to tap into that part of the brain, the dimension that we don't use, you know what I mean? And now they have that spiritual ability because they've taken the time. Like a lot of us as human beings, man, we're so like bam, bam, bam. You know, a lot of times people don't stop and smell the flowers, you know, take in all the what's around them. They don't take the beauty in. They're just kind of getting from point A to point B. Sometimes they miss so many different things as they're walking through. You know what I mean? And so that's some people who have had learned the ability to take the time to probably get inside areas that a lot of us can never get to because we don't take the time or even know how to get there. You know what I mean? We're so consumed with other things.
Taylor, that actually came up in the show. So
Yes.
you have made a believer out of
My wife
Brooke
is yeah.
Brian.
Oh yeah. Well, she hit the nail on a lot of things that are going on in my wife's life. That's why I was like, man, Taylor's tapped in. She's tapped into that part, and she's got an ability too, you know. And some of the people like my daughter, she's scared to tap in. You know what I mean?
So you know, and I don't even think that people know how to do it. I
Right?
think
No.
there's just
Or they're scared too. Or there's a part of you that's scared, you
Yeah.
know, to even try or, you know, to take that time to sit there and focus or meditate or whatever it is to get that, you know, that ability to kind of shut everything else around and connect with a different level. Cause I think that a lot of us, we ride radio type waves in a way, you know, and we start getting on a frequency and then we roll with that frequency, you know, in life. But learning how to tune in and get different frequencies, it would be a whole thing.
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, no different than like you can take a clock, right? An electric alarm clock. I know for you younger people, you don't know what that is, but you take it to Germany and you plug it into an inverter, right? And throughout the week, that clock will slowly lose time, even though it's digital. It'll slowly lose time because the frequency is a little bit different, which affects the way the clock operates because it's not getting the full knowledge of what it's supposed to be getting. And I think that's exactly where all this comes into is its energy and frequencies, and you know, call it a dimension, but it's something that's operating on a different frequency than we are. And you add all that stuff together, right? And some people are in a state of mind, just like you said. Some people take the time to stop and look at the things around them and take things in and process those things. Other people walk right through it and don't even, they only think about what they're thinking about. And I think somebody that is artistic, I think somebody that is imaginative and has those characteristics about themselves is more likely to be able to tap into that side, right? And this is another podcast, but that's where there's a lot of talk about psychedelics and how
Well, I was actually gonna go in that real quick and talk about shrooms,
Yep.
the magic mushrooms.
Yep.
That for sure opens a different dimension in your brain. Cause I could tell you from experience, judge me if you want. But my gosh, that shrooms will open up part of your brain that you don't normally use. I was literally watching dust blowing in and out of a crack, like on a garage door. Like it was like just going in and out. I can see like the things that I wasn't able, and whether I'm tripping, you know, and stuff, but it literally felt like I had a whole different dimension and I was using a part of my brain that I don't necessarily ever use. So, you know, the psychedelics might have that tap where it can tap into parts of our brains that we don't use, or our brain has to adapt because there's something in there that's making us react.
Well, I can tell you, I've never personally done it, but man, I am super interested.
Yeah,
and,
I have.
and I'm
I
super.
definitely have.
So I would want to go with somebody that really knew what the hell they're doing, and they used it as a therapy, right? But everybody that I've talked to that has done it, they all say the same things, that the things that they see are like in high def, You can make out the smallest details. And the other part about it that they all say is what seems to be like 5 minutes turns into actually being an hour or 2 hours. That time, there's no sense of it. You can't judge how long something happened. What you thought took 5 minutes for you to encounter, the reality is you were actually there for an hour.
Bro, like, I'm not gonna lie, one time when I was on it, I learned that I'm like a good spirit. It was the weirdest thing, man. I was going in my head and in my head it kept telling me like, you're here to spread good, not bad. Like, you're a good spirit. Like, and it was the weirdest thing that I was kind of going through in my head. And like, man, I don't know, until you've ever done it, it's crazy. Like how many things, like I started listening to EDM music, like there's just different musics and tones and frequencies that I got in touch with.
Mhm.
Like I said, it enhances maybe some of your senses. I don't know what it does, but it's crazy how the psychedelic opens that part of the brain that we're just not usually using.
Right.
But it put me in a way. It put me in such a reality, man. It's crazy. It almost puts you in a spiritual world, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I've watched people cry, bro, because they saw God or someone. Like there's a picture on the wall of Jesus and they see him crying, and they start sobbing. I mean, I've seen people really get in touch with it, like their whole reality. You know what I mean? Andrews, what's up, brother? The last time I did, I felt like I was in a good place in life and not think about anything negative. Yeah, me too. And that's another thing they kind of say with the psychedelics, or at least the magic mushrooms, is typically you want to be in a good mindset when you do it.
Yeah.
Because it may end up putting you down that road, of where you're in your bad mind.
And I think,
But, when you're in a good place in your head, you can actually kind of control it and have a lot of fun. Because I remember the first time I did it when I was a kid, I tripped out bad. You know what I mean? And I'm just like telling my friends, like, please talk to me normal, bro. Like, this is, I was just like feeling it like so pressured. But then when I finally kind of, so to speak, got comfortable with it, I was in control of it. And then all of a sudden I started having a lot of fun. And it just like, I saw my body laying down like it was passed out at one point in time. And I'm like just sitting here having like this whole out of body experience. Like I thought I was the Montel Williams talk show at some point, and I had a screwdriver in my hand and I had a whole crowd of people. And I thought my buddy was sitting there on a bench, and he's, he had no kidding. He only had to his elbows and to his knees. He was missing the rest of his bodies, and his whole face and everything it looked like he had graph paper on it. So dude, all of a sudden I'm like sitting there talking and like acting like I'm on this Montel Williams show and and I'm interviewing people. All of a sudden he comes he's like at the door and he's like, "Hey bro, what are you doing?" I was like, "I'm talking to you right here, man." Like he's just like, "No, bro. We've been inside the whole time." I was like, "Holy shit, dude. I just had a whole show out here." It's just crazy though what it does to you, man.
do you want to Taylor said we should tag her in. Maybe she could enlighten us on a few things. Maybe
Yeah, man.
Path, or maybe she could get us to right. So here, I'll send it to you on Facebook there, Taylor. I'd love to hear more.
But yeah, I mean, dude, yeah, I don't know. The psychedelics things, it opens up a world that we're not used to. You know what I mean? And so it comes on heavily and it comes on strong. But I had a lot of fun too, man. You laugh your ass off on it sometimes, and you just got to be in a good place, But everything was so funny, and I was trying to go to sleep, man, and I could just hear the TV, and I could just hear everything funny on TV. I was just dying. You could have a lot of fun, man.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I do believe there's therapy to it.
Yeah.
I do believe that there is things that you can use like this to get you past those stuck points of where you're stuck. So I do get that, what you're saying about you need to be in the right mindset to use it. And I think you need to be to that point that where you've decided in your mind that you want to beat what you're going through, not still
Because
that
I
fence.
feel like, dude, when you open up that part of the brain, you can bring in the evil part too. You know what I mean? And people get scared the shit out of, because of it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. If you're not really in that good spot, man, and you got that evil aura going around you, it's best probably not to open up that dimension. You know what I mean? And bring it all in. It is absolutely crazy. She don't see a link. We could just probably invite her in here. I'll just probably invite her.
Okay.
And we just won't make sure we don't bring on anybody that's susp.
But yeah, at the end of the day, man, it is important when you start playing with that type of stuff to one, have an open mind, and two, to be prepared for what you're going to come into. You're muted again. Hey brother, you're still muted.
I don't know why it keeps doing that. But that's the other thing, man. Do we sometimes play in our own mind too when you have a lot of fear about something or you're kind of scared? Do we play in our own head too and make things happen sometimes because you're so freaking scared of it?
Just click the link, Taylor.
Yeah, just click one of the links that we sent in the chat. It should be able to bring you right in.
Yeah.
Or
It'll
put or copy and paste that right into your browser.
But so absolutely, 100%, and I can prove this too, right? So, she might not be able to see the chat.
Depending where she's watching. She's not on Facebook. Let's see. Let me see.
But so when I was in like 6th grade, we went to science camp, and one of the things that they did was tell everybody ghost stories, right? And it was about how this guy was coming that was chained to to the concrete, and he drowned.
It's in your messenger.
He drowned, and from that point forward, at night he would come out and take one link off the chain, right? And those stories, if you believed it, played on your mind. So every morning we ran out and we counted the links on that chain, and every day I would count one less link than what I counted the night before. There was always the same, but my mind wanted to see one less link, So when I counted them, I'd be like, holy shit, there's one less link. He fucking came, But it was just my mind seeing what it wanted to see,
And that's the other thing. I mean, that's where you kind of question the conspiracy side of it, or like the hoax part of it is.
Right.
Is some of this conjured up in people's minds, because they're in a bad place? Maybe they're getting bad sleep every night, you know what I mean? There she is. Let's get some encounters. There she is. Hey, Taylor.
What's up, guys?
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty freaking good, man.
Yeah, it sounds like it, yeah.
I stumbled onto some free margaritas tonight.
Well, hey, that always helps. Make you feel better.
I'm chilling in bed now. I'm like, I feel all right.
All right. Well, hey, tell us some of your experiences in the
you do not have enough time on this show. First of all, I want to know, I missed it. So what do you guys know? What were you told?
Well, I mean, basically just that you were talking to my wife and you were able to tell her things about what she's going through and stuff like that. That really tripped her out, knowing about her parents just some of the things that you kind of knew that about her that she didn't know.
It's funny because I don't remember any of it.
Well, it's probably because you were on the
No,
psychedelics.
man, I was exhausted for one. But number two, like when I do that kind of stuff, I'm not, it's a different, it's a different place.
It taps into some, right? I
So
mean,
it's always been a part of my life. And when I was a kid, like nobody noticed, nobody paid attention, nobody listened to kids back in the day, you know. I'm way older than you guys, by the
Yeah.
way. Way older. And oh yeah. I'll be 51 next month.
You're not much
you're only
older.
9 years older than me. I mean, it's not like
Only
way older.
I could have been your babysitter, babe. Um
You're only 20
Nice.
years older than me, and I'm almost 49. So
but this is what I tell everybody. Everybody has the ability to tap in. The problem is you don't recognize the voice that is spirit. And I know, like from birth, I had this voice, but there is a distinct point in my life where I knew that I knew this was not my voice. And I said, from that moment on, I will always trust this voice. Do you want to hear the story?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I was in the Air Force. I was pregnant with like probably my first kid. I was in mortuary affairs in the Air Force. And there was a suicide that came in, and this guy had shot himself in the head and had been going through a divorce and was caught his wife in bed with somebody and whatever. It was like a really tragic story. So we did the entire thing from like going out into the field, collecting his body to putting him in the ground. And the whole thing was just very, very traumatic and very hard. I played taps at his funeral. Well, 6 months later, I am 45 minutes away from my home at the nearest mall. I was in Missouri. And this woman comes up to me and my mother-in-law at the time, and she says, "Excuse me, where did you get that sweatshirt?" And her sweatshirt said "Yusef Mom." And she goes, "Oh, well, my kids got this for me for Christmas." And she was like, "Man, I would love to have a sweatshirt like that. My son died this summer and I miss him so much," and blah, blah, blah. She walks away and I'm just like white as a ghost. And I look at my mother in law and I said, "I know who that is. I buried her son." And I told her what happened. So here I knew the woman. I had her address and I was on the base. I could easily just go buy her the sweatshirt and send it to her. And I didn't because I was scared I would get in trouble. I was scared of, I don't know what I was scared of. I was in my freaking 20s. You know what I mean? And to this day, if I could go back and change any moment in my life, that would be one of them. Because as a mother now, I realized what I could have done for her. Because there was this voice telling me, like, send her the shirt, send her, and I didn't do it. And from that moment on, I said, all right, God, like, I know that's you. So when I hear that voice, I will never ignore it again. And man, that voice has put me in some situations. Um, I knew that I knew that I knew that was not my voice. And I call that voice God. And it could be guardian angels, it could be spirit team, it could be spirit, whatever you deem that to be.
Yep.
My belief is that there's always people walking with us or spirits walking with us. We have a spirit team, we have a higher self. When my life went to shit in 2015, and when I tell you everybody died, everything went wrong, everything, like it damn near killed me. It damn near killed me. I almost did not survive 2015. The more that things went bad, the more my intuition and everything heightened. And if it wasn't for my children and my best friends that witnessed all of this, I would have thought I was crazy. But I was like, does this happen to normal people? Is it just me? And they were like, oh my God, no, like this really happened. And And then I just realized that I was being called into this awakening. And I will never call myself psychic. I don't believe I'm psychic and I'm not a medium. I don't talk to dead people. I always just tell people I just kind of know stuff and I've learned to trust my gut on that. But especially around music, that especially is where I will film myself playing guitar and stuff. My birth father will show up when I'm doing that, and you will see orbs in my videos and stuff of him showing up. And that's a whole other story. But that's where I zone out and I just wait for information. And so the other night when you guys were all there, a week ago tonight, ooh,
Yeah, yeah.
you guys were all upstairs being so loud. Barbara walks up to me, and I didn't know Barbara. Barbara walks up to me and she goes, "Hey, us girls are going downstairs to play a game. You want to join us?" And I was like, "Say less." And I went downstairs and I'm meeting everybody for the first time. And the whole time I'm Brian, I'm drawn to your wife's shirt. And I'm just like, I want to say something. And my brain's going, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. And I'm like, I have to say it. And I'm like, hey, are you into scary movies? And that's when things got weird from there. And she was like, read me. Oh my God, read me. And I'm like, no, I can't read anybody. I'm like, I don't. I'm like, it's too loud. But at some point, everybody left and she had disappeared and come back. And I was just down on the couch with my guitar and I just randomly pick a song. And I asked her, Jenny, do you have a favorite song? And she goes, no, just play anything. Just play whatever. I'm like, oh my, I don't even know. So I scroll through, I pick a song, I start playing. I look up and she goes, is that the energy you're getting from me? And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Oh my God. And she goes, that's my husband and I's favorite song. And she's like, dude, she was sobbing. And I just put my guitar aside and I said, oh, I hate when that happens. I was literally just trying to play a song. I'm so
Tap right
sorry.
in.
But music especially is where I like people call it meditation. You know, whatever it is for you. It's when I work out, it's when I walk, it's when I play music. And when
She
I
said though,
shower,
not only did you play the song, but you played the version.
yeah.
You know, which is the more crazy part that she really likes. I mean, that's
Yeah.
where it was like weird. There's different versions too. So I mean,
I
she,
have just learned to trust the voice and trust the instinct and trust whatever. I trust when I feel energy. I trust when I don't know. It's just so weird. And everybody really has this ability. You really do. And you don't even need psychedelics to do it. You don't need anything to really do it. It's learning how to just be still. And the problem is the second that you get information, your brain immediately tries to cloud it. Your brain immediately starts to fill it up with stuff. So I did this with Barbara last night. I said, Barbara, there's a name that people give me about a man that's coming into my life. Like they give me a name. For 2 years, almost every person that I've talked to has given me the same exact name. I'm like, take a minute, quiet your brain, tell me if you can come up with that name. She's like, I didn't even get to the point. This is the first name that I heard. And I said, oh my God, that's the name. That's the name. like, I'm like, my life is so weird, man. My life is so weird. Um, and I'm grateful for it, but I always tell people like it came at a price. It came at a price. But I always encourage people to tap into their spiritual mindset and their spiritual selves. And really, it's quite a painful process to get there because you sort of go through the death of the ego. So, all my people that have been through trauma, all of my people that have dealt with all these incredibly hard things in life, I'm like, it sucks. I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but understand this. You are so spiritually in tune with life now because the cracks are where the light shines in.
well, that's the problem with I think a majority of the people in the world that are hurt or whatever and never deal with it is they're afraid to stop and have that moment of silence. They're afraid
Mhm.
to get in touch with themselves because you got to go down some paths and deal with some things. You know what I mean? To get to the clear path and allow everything else to be there. But if you're sitting there going through a swamp of things, it's going to be hard to get to your destination, right? I mean, so that's the thing. I think a lot of us, we keep ourselves busy. You know what I mean? So we don't have to sit there and deal with things. And then that's why I think a lot of people can't get in touch with their spiritual world or that part because they're not allowing themselves to get there.
A lot
They're
of
too
people
afraid.
confuse spiritual life with religion.
No, right?
I
No, I
don't
know.
like God.
No,
I don't like church. I'm like,
right?
right, this is different.
No, correct. And spiritual world is different to me because the way I view the religion world is it's become compartmentalized and everything's departments and it just they're organizations. They take in money.
Mhm.
It's and a lot of times they don't use it for the better. All of a sudden they got a nice big screen behind you or something, and then you got people on the roads, starving. But
It kind of goes along with what we were saying before. Me personally, when I talk about the spiritual world, I refer to it more as energy and and frequencies. I've said it a
Mhm.
lot in this show, right? And the other thing that is really weird, but there's ways that they can hook electricity up to your brain to fire your brain to make it do things, and you add all that stuff up, and a side of your brain fires, and now you're in tune with that frequency, and you're able to learn stuff. I think, you know, I agree with what you're saying, Taylor, that everybody has what you're talking about. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't listen to their guts. I've always been one that, I don't know what it is, but if something in myself told me, hey, you're in the wrong place, or hey, you shouldn't be doing this, or I call it my conscience or whatever, I have learned to listen to it too. And it's covered my ass several times, you know, that I can't count for. And again, it's because when I was younger, I didn't listen to it, and I did get myself in trouble and so forth. But I kind of credit a lot of that to situations while being deployed too. There were
or
situations.
there's or there's times though too you get in your head though, man, and you end up going down the wrong path because of you're thinking you're having an intuition but I mean that's when I feel like the negative energy is coming in, and then that's what's trying to put you down a bad path. You know what I mean? And that's where I feel like when we talked about evil and like good, I feel like there's definitely that energy in this world.
Talk
There's
to me about
negative
tell me
and
what you
positive.
mean by evil and negative energy. Tell me more about that.
So I believe in the world in terms of there's negative and positive energy,
Mhm.
right? And there's a way of no matter what, there's people out there that you may think they're a positive person, but their energy is very negative. Like there's pastors and stuff like that that have led churches and stuff like that. Just because they're a pastor doesn't mean they're a great person. Doesn't mean that they don't do bad things or those type of things. But like when it comes to the whole evil thing, and the way that it goes is it starts putting us in the where I see it is mainly like it's starting with division and stuff like that, and making us hate each other and creating boundaries and things like that. Which I don't think God or of the higher being, the way I always has been told is love, kindness, like happiness, not being discontent and stuff like that. But it's like there's people in this world that are almost here to make everything negative, no matter what. You can sit there and you're like having a great day, and then they just want to piss on your great day because they just have their negative energy. I don't know. I can't express or explain the energies and the way that they add up, but you can feel it. There's times I mean I can go into certain places and feel the actual energy and be like, damn, I feel really uncomfortable here, and
Mhm.
then want to leave, because I just feel it in my body. Or I've felt very at home. Like when we were all doing the pre-party, I never felt so like comfortable and just like a great atmosphere. You know what I mean? But I've been to places, I've been to concerts and told my wife, I don't feel good about this. There's something wrong here. There's a negative energy. Something's not right. And I leave. You know what I mean? Or we'll leave. But I can't explain it, I don't think.
I can explain it.
Let's hear it. I'd love to hear it.
Could be the margaritas talking. I'm in a vibe right now, yeah. I'm so
All right,
vibe.
well, hey, we love your
all
vibe.
right. I was like, oh my God, this is the conversation I want to have right now. First of all, there is people who vibrate on lower frequencies and people who vibrate on higher frequencies. So music can vibrate on low frequencies, music can vibrate on high frequencies. You literally can be impacted by music. Music can be healing. Music vibration has been used by monks to bust up rocks across the canyon. Like vibration is incredible. And since I was young, I have always been drawn to vibration. I didn't know anything about it. It's just always been a part of that. So that's one area. Block that off. The second thing is evil. Evil, negative people, energy, blah, blah, blah. And I have this conversation with people a lot. We are programmed to say, blah, 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 this is evil. Blah, 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 this is bad. Blah, blah, blah. We give labels to things because in our mind, that's how we understand things. But in the realm of spiritual stuff, y'all, and thank God nobody's listening to any of this.
Oh, we got
In
people.
the realm of spiritual stuff, you have to have evil because you're here to have an experience. And if you came to this earth and your only experience was good things are happening, you have no experience, dude. Nothing's happening. You have to have highs. You have to have lows. The bad things that happen are your guideposts. Those are actually going to end up being the things you are most grateful for in your life at the end of it all. Because it's going to challenge you to become what you're intended to be. It's going to challenge you to take steps you would have never chosen to take it on your own. Do you know what I mean? Like if bad things didn't happen, why would you change? If bad things didn't happen, why would you make a move? You wouldn't. You wouldn't. You literally would not. You would just stay munching in your own pasture, never doing anything. There would be no adventure in your life. And so I look at this from I look at this from both standpoints. I have been emotionally devastated, wrecked. I have been wrecked in my life. But at the end of the day, when I look at it from a spiritual standpoint, I'm like, man, when I sit down with God to watch the movie about my life, it's going to be epic. It's going to be like an odyssey. It's going to be like, yeah, she went through it all,
Against all odds.
against everything, right? Right, exactly. Because really, ultimately, that's what it is. Nobody owes us anything. You don't owe me anything, nothing. But we give people these labels and we have this weird programming that in the context of where we live right now in America, in our homes and whatever, we're programmed to think this is the end all be all of how life exists. But if I pick you
Culturally.
up and I move you to a different part of the world and I put you in an entirely different culture, things get wrecked real fast.
Yeah, your culture. It's a culture thing. I mean, it's a lot of how we act as people in our places is based on the culture that's you're raised by and surrounded by. So all our life you're told like, hey, this is blue. Well, someone said that, and then we all said, yep, that's blue, right? I mean,
I was a messed up little kid, dude. I was like 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old. I was like, what if blue doesn't look the same to either one of us? What if when you see blue, I see red? What if
colorblind people they live that world? You know what I mean?
I was such a messed up kid from like the get go. From like the get go.
She's fighting it like, well, that ain't green.
Like when I
He's
look
just
back on
arguing
myself
it.
now, I'm like, man, I've always been like a freak. And like nobody paid attention to me. I would be like, Mom, don't go on that trip. You're going to break your leg. And then she would break her leg. Or I would like pet my dog and I'd be like, hey, don't die when we leave. And then my dog would die. And now looking back, I'm like, why did nobody pay attention to me?
I
Like,
don't want Taylor to say nothing about nothing to me. Like,
oh my God, I've got stories upon stories
don't go
upon
over there. You're gonna crash.
stories.
You know, that reminded
It's
me of
crazy.
that reminded
Eh,
me of that show, Revenge of the Nerds, where Ogre was sitting on the beach with that other nerd smoking weed, and he goes, "What if CAT actually spelled dog?"
Dog.
Yeah. Right.
But you know what? Ultimately, that's how I want everybody to think. I want everybody to realize that like we're not all the same. Like we all have this programming based on how we're raised. Don't give a crap at what anybody else thinks because they have a programming that they're operating from and you literally cannot go against their programming.
Right. I
Whatever they're
mean,
projecting onto you is their programming. It's not who you are.
yeah, and a lot of people, social media is a big blame, and what they see, like they see people getting rich off of being a streamer or doing this, and then all of a sudden they want to do this, and they get themselves involved in it. I mean, and it's not even a reality, for everybody. It's a portray of some kind of reality for someone else, but that doesn't mean that everybody else is going to be able to make that same reality for them. You know what I mean? It takes a lot to get yourself in those worlds or that that level.
Can we go
But
back to the part where I'm not going to get rich?
don't speak
Everybody
that
is
into your
like,
existence, bro.
everybody's like, "Oh, dude, don't get me started on words have power. Don't
No,
get me
we know.
started."
I do believe in the
Yep.
word in having positive energy towards things. You're most likely going to have a positive outcome from it versus when you go into something with negative energy and you're just like, this is going to suck. Well, you just created that world for yourself, and the world of creating false realities and then making it reality. That's rough. What a lot of people do to themselves, where they sit there, they paint a reality that's not real, and they'll go live in that reality, and you're like, no, that's not real. You know what I mean?
So, what do you guys want to know?
Yeah, that's a big question.
Yeah.
Here's what I always tell people. I always say this. You already know. Like you can ask the question, but you already know.
Right.
And that's the thing about it all is that everybody walks around like, oh, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. I don't know where I'm going. But like you do. You do know, but you choose to ignore it because you're too scared to face it.
Right.
I think that's where I'm at in my life right now.
What do you want to know, Donald? Tell me.
I mean, I can tell you what I'm working on, and like my book, I'm now got to some of the harder parts of my life, and the book has kind of been paused. I haven't gotten to that point to go down and start because I know what I'm getting close to, and that's another reason why I joined the Warriors Mindset. Because I want to get to the point where I'm off of these medications and I can function the way I do now without them. But as I'm going through this, there's topics and things that we're talking about. It's tough. So, I mean, those are things that I'm working on, but they're not things that I've gotten past yet.
So I don't want to say anything because you're not asking me for starters.
What's coming to your mind, though?
Oh, I got a lot of stuff, dude.
Tell me
But
what
I
comes to
have
mind right
rules.
off rip when with me.
With you, what do you want to know?
I don't know. Like when, what do you see? If you look at me, what
What do
kind of
I
energy do I give
see?
off or whatnot? I mean,
You really like to eat crayons.
yeah.
You're
No,
very
that's too
drawn to
easy.
red, and red is very passionate. You're a very passionate person. You're very passionate. Okay, hold on. Putting me on the spot here. Um, I don't know, man. You just kind of learn to let things roll off your back, and sort of I'm gonna say free spirit, but that's a loose term because things still bother you. Things still bother you, but it's growth. You have a lot of growth around you. You have a lot of growth around you, and you're just like out there. I don't know. I see you like just spreading seeds everywhere. You want everybody to grow around you, and this red keeps coming to me, and red is when you think of red, you think of fire, and you think not power. It's not about power. Love, like a vivacious life, a zest for life. You're just in this place, man, where you've kind of found your stride. Things you want to
Man,
work
this year.
on, yes. Things you want to work on, yes. There's things that you definitely have on your horizon that you want to get to, but you're in such a place now where you're like, it's all about life and living my best life and just being happy. And I want people around me to be happy. Um, that's the
Yeah.
energy that you give off.
Wow. Man, it, this year's been a big year for me in learning and stuff. So that's why you saying a lot of this. It's been my journey this year, where things are clicking. I'm probably in the best mental space I've been in a long time,
Oh man.
and it's liberating to get there. You know what I mean? And start to feel that way. Because now I can start spreading that positive energy.
That's what I see.
And
I just see you just
yeah.
out there like freaking, you're just
I want
slinging.
everybody to feel how I feel. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, and have that energy. And I want to see everybody do good. That's part of me, like a big thing for me. I love everybody. I'm a fan for people. I'm a fan for people to do good. Because what does it do? It helps the next generation. If we all do good, it's going to benefit our kids. It's going to benefit their kids. We're setting foundations for the next. You know what I mean? So I appreciate that, Taylor. Man, she does got it. I'm telling you, man.
So let me ask you a question. Do you see me getting to where I'm trying to get to?
You broke up a little bit. What'd you say?
I said, do you see me getting to where I'm trying to get to?
Do I see you getting to where I see that you have things that you need to heal. You have like these blocks in front of you. They're not going to keep you from getting where you need to get to, but you have stations of healing that you need to address along the way, and it's going to like unlock the passage for you, almost like a game, like a puzzle. Like you're going to get to the next station, and it's like, okay, this is what you're going to learn about yourself. This is what you're going to heal about yourself. And when you hit that, you're going to open up that door, and it's a growing process. So it's not about like in the terms of what we understand in this life of like, I'm going to go, boom, do this. It's a journey. You're on a journey of self-discovery. You're on a journey of healing. You're on a journey. And here's what I learned about my journey, Donald. Okay. It's the journey that's the most impactful. It's not the ultimate outcome. It's going to be your journey that's impactful. You will get where you're going to get to, but don't look at that place as like, that's when I'll be impactful. You're being impactful here, and you'll be impactful all along the way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because, until I started podcasting, there was a lot of things that I didn't talk about. And podcasting has opened that up to where now there's things that I do talk about. And I've looked at it as, I was here, and then podcasting got me to here, and then the medication got me to where I've even told my shrink, hey, I'm the most logical I've been now since I've gotten out of the military.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm to that stage where I'm looking at that next chapter of I want to be where I'm at now without medication. And 2 years ago, I would have never even been thinking that.
Right.
So I do see it as, like you said, like chapters. And, you know, till this year, I never got to that point where I wanted to write a book to kind of explain to my kids why the asshole they lived with was the way he was.
What holds you back, Donald?
Um, to be honest, part of it is my son. I'm not sure. I'm not ready to be judged again. You know, we went down this road, and me and my daughter's got great relationship, but me and my son, you know, I did some shitty things. You know, I'm not blaming him, and I'm not saying that he had a bad life and wasn't raised good. That's not what I'm saying either. I'm just that in the most important stages of his life was when I was going through things and was pushing my family away and thinking about suicide and everything else. And it was just timing, you know. Those were the years that he needed a man to help him transition to becoming a man. And instead what he got was a guy that was constantly yelling and throwing shit and drinking and pissed off and just looked for any reason to push people away. You know, I would come home and eat dinner, and that would be the last thing anybody seen of me. I'd go to the bedroom and shut the door and stay in the bedroom all night until I went to sleep. You know, and so there's times there that I know how he's came out to be and the things that he's going through. And I, you know, when I get to this point where I'm writing this book, and because he hasn't read it, my daughter's reading it as I write it. You know, she's helping me edit because, you know, we all know my spelling's not the greatest. And so that day that when it comes to where if he reads it, you know, I'm not looking for forgiveness, but understanding, I guess.
What if he doesn't give you understanding?
I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at. You know, right now it doesn't matter because he hasn't read any of it. So that day of judgment hasn't come.
Okay, so okay, with your permission, do you want any feedback on this?
Yeah.
Okay. So many people will say we picked our parents, we picked our journeys, we picked our battles. Some people believe that, some people don't. But let's say, for example, your son did. He picked you as his father. He picked this life as his journey. He came to this planet to live this life, to have these experiences. You have a choice in this role. You can be the father who made these mistakes, leave them and say, oh, well, tough shit, that's life. Or, like me, my children will see me live my life and become the best version of myself. Our children are our children to an extent, but ultimately they're not ours to keep. They're only ours to raise for a short time.
Right.
And then they become these humans. And they live their lives and they have their experiences. You will never be able to love anyone enough to make them think something of you. You can never give somebody enough. You can't. Because people are their own entities. So even if you lived your perfect life, Donald, and you gave him a perfect life and you were a perfect, like that kid would still come up with something to hate you for. That's life. That's being a parent.
Yeah.
Do you know what? At the end of the day, what I hope that your son will see and what I think he will see. My father served. My father sacrificed. My father experienced things I could never fathom. Like, as he becomes an adult, he will start to realize, oh shit, this all makes sense. How old is your son? In his 20s? He's
25.
25, yeah. He's not mature enough to understand. In your eyes, you're still just dad. You're still dad who bossed me around. You're still dad. But as he becomes a father, as he becomes a man, as he experiences life in this world, he's going to look back and be like, oh shit, this all makes sense. The best thing that you can do for you and your family is it's your authenticity, and you are an authentic person. Don't hide your story from anyone, not even your kids. I don't hide my story from my kids. Fuck that. I love my kids to death.
Yeah.
But my story is my story. They just happen to come in the picture at a different chapter of my story. And until they have life experience to understand my life, which they never will, they'll never know the extent of my life and things I've been through. My boys will never understand, for sure. As a woman, they can't. Who cares? That's not your job. You did the best you could for who you were. You were a young man. You were a soldier. You've been through trauma. You've done things people can't fathom. Like, nobody can judge that story but you, man. And I think you should be proud of your story. We all make mistakes. Nobody lives a perfect life. I'm proud of my mistakes. Own them. Fuck. Yeah. And this is what I learned from it. So now you have the wisdom, and if you fuck up, that's on you. You
Yep.
know?
You gotta, providing them tools. I mean, a lot of people can learn from our mistakes. Are we proud of them? No. But
You could,
sometimes it's good to put it in front of other people so someone else can prevent themselves from making that same stupid decision or mistake that you did.
it is so easy for you to look back from where you are now and go, oh my God, I'm going to beat myself up because I shoulda, coulda, woulda. Dude, no, if anything, you should look back on that person and be like, damn, I'm proud of that man. I'm proud of that man that stuck around when it was hard. I'm proud of that man that continued to be a father. I'm proud of that man that got to come home. That's the way you look at that man. Because that's who you are.
Yeah.
That's who you write that story, man. Put it out there because there's more people in this world than just your kid. You can't control how your kid receives that information. But that information will reach somebody and it will impact them and change their lives for the better. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm starting to freak myself out a little bit.
No, man. No, I love it. Do you sometimes come in contact with people and you just like you can tell
Instantly.
negative energy right off, or you can just tell whether
Yeah.
they're good spirit, good bad spirit right off rip?
Dating is so bad. Dating is so bad because it's very hard for me to find people that I'm interested in. I hate dating. I absolutely hate
Yeah.
it. So if like at some point you're just being mundane and I get bored, I slip out. I stop. Like if you see me do this, I'm not even there with you. I'm out. I'm over here. I'm up here. And I'm reading you. And I don't mean to. Like I don't realize I'm doing it until I look up and your head is like this, like you have your head in your hand and you're like, "Oh my God, how did you know that?" And then I will be like, "Oh God, I did not mean to do that." Uh, like I don't know. I used to not realize that I did that, but I'm very empathic. I very easily tap into people. I want to know who you are, like instantly. Like I want to like know your story. And I'm looking at you. And when I look at people, I feel like the Terminator or something. Like when I'm looking at you, I'm not looking at you. I'm
What are you
getting a
looking at right
whole
now?
I'm
Looking at
getting
right
a
now.
whole freaking readout on who you are. I'm getting like data downloads and I'm like, this is who he is. These are his weaknesses. This is how like it's so bad. It's so bad. Um, but I can walk in a room, look at you from across the room and know so much more about you than you realize.
Now I'm nervous.
At that level.
And
No,
let me
man,
tell you, but
you know this all me, man.
having said all of that, I'm going to tell you this right now. That's why Friday night was so special. That's why that house was so special. Everybody that was in that house was meant to come together. It was a house full of authentic people.
Great
We were destined to come together for great things.
I 100% agree with that.
I mean, we all left
it
there
was a
like
great night.
what just happened?
Right.
Like, wow.
No,
Wow.
unless you were there, it was, man, it was very magical to see it all go down.
I'm gonna tell you, man.
Taking a whole bunch of strangers that have kind of, kind of know each other at surface level, but like putting everybody in that same environment and then it going on, like, no, like, it was just amazing. I don't know. I felt zero negative energy. Even at Hero Stack, I felt zero negative, like, the vibe the whole weekend just
Do you
felt
feel
great.
negative energy around people? Do you feel that?
I do. I kind of,
Yeah. You're both
I've
very
started to tap
empathic
in.
people.
I started to tap in a lot more. You know what I mean? I try to tell myself I'm not an empath, but I think I am a lot more than I like to lead myself off to believe. Like, because an incident happened today with my daughter's sister, and it just you can feel the stress in her, and just the and I feel like that's how our world is now, and it's like kind of sad watching all these people just so riddled with stress. And I remember being a younger person and not really even like those negative energy wasn't there, but like there's such a negative aura now, and it's like attaching itself to our younger generation, and they're like getting stuck. I can't explain it, but that's why I'm saying that I could feel the difference between the positive and the negative energy, and you can feel the sway in it, and you can just feel it, and like even when you go into certain situations, I have that third sense or whatever, where you're just like, this doesn't feel right. You just feel it in that pit or something in your stomach, and you just got that conscious like, this is not a good spot. You need to leave. You shouldn't be here. You know what I mean?
I will tell you, I don't know what empath means, but I can tell you that I can relate to that just when you feel like somebody's off. I know you've heard me say it in private talks, Brian, about where I said, look, something's off about this, and I don't necessarily trust, and I've always been that way. If you don't pass that trust part with me, if just in the first few minutes I feel like, I don't know, you just like there's something not right, that's where the conversation ends, man. And I move on, and I don't try to stick around and make sense of it. I don't know where that feeling comes from, and it doesn't come all the time. It's just, for the most part, it's led me to be around legitimate, straightforward people, that are, I'm not gonna say good or bad, but they're at least, what you see is what you get. You know what I mean?
That's why so much of what Taylor has said resonates with me in my journey, because since I have had the ability to kind of stop and smell the flowers and see things around me, it's putting me in a clearer place. Like, even when I deal with bad negative energy, I handle it better. You know, even when it comes my way, there's times when I used to fucking go 0 to 60 real quick and just pop off. Now I catch myself not doing that and sitting there and not just boom, just impulsing and going and slaughtering and saying, using emotion at that moment, because sometimes when you take some things in, it hits your emotions. And I feel like at that point in time, you're not clear with your logic when you're overcome with emotion. But that's why a lot of people that have trauma in their life and don't deal with it, everything that comes in their life is a travesty, because they still have a travesty they haven't dealt with. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that since I've been able to start dealing with my stuff and kind of owning shit, like, hey, I wasn't a good dad either, dude. You know what I mean? Like, straight up, to my 2 oldest kids. But I've owned that, and now I'm on that path of being a better person and being a better dad to them, being a better human being to them. But like, the clear mind, it's put me in a spiritual way where there's just so many other things too that have come to my forefront. And I have you sometimes when you're raised a certain way, you kind of get stuck in that way. You know what I mean? And unless you remove yourself out of it, and then you kind of step back and say, hold up, maybe I was in the wrong circle. You know what I mean? We love our parents, we love our family, and and maybe the path they set us, they want to try to sit you down. Is it the right path? You know what I mean? But later on in life, you realize, hold up, I was kind of going down the wrong path there. You know what I mean? For a second. I don't know. The reality of things, it's unreal. You know, how much clarity I've had now in this past year. And I think a lot of it has to do with the podcasting world and talking to people and opening up and then telling my story too. And whether it was good or bad. You know, there's a lot of things I've told throughout my podcast when I'm talking on my individual shows, telling my story. There's things I've talked about that I'm like totally not, you know, even my wife's like, wow, I can't believe you talked about that. You know, I'm just like, it's my story. And I feel like there's people out there that can, I'm not proud of it, you know, and it's not me gloating about it. It's me saying, hey, don't do this too, man. Or here's, here's some tools to manage when you go through something like this. In my life, I was always told, hey, go outside, go figure it out, do your things. You know what I mean? We were always left to figure it out. Now with my kids, I try to educate them a little bit. You know, I need them to learn through their own process because unless your own mind goes through it, sometimes you don't believe it. Right. So sometimes they got to live it, but it's not bad to like put little tools in their box. So when they come through it, they can pull that shit out. And they're like, my dad was telling me about this. Let me use this through this time, you know, type thing.
I can tell you, you know, when we talk about hero stock, why it took me a minute to unpack it, but why it was so great for me. Because I wish I was like you where I stopped to smell the roses and look around, but I do the exact opposite. If I have a few minutes, I stuff something in that so that I don't have to deal with things that was going through my head. I stay focused on other shit. And for the first time in a long time, those 2 days that we were up there, I was able to sit back and enjoy and not worrying about what thought's going to come through my mind. You know, I just had a good time. And I haven't had that for a long time.
I'm going to tell you something to try. You know, and I mean, to each their own. But sometimes we have negative energy built up in our body. Go let that shit out. Scream. Punch a fucking pillow. I mean, if you've ever let out some aggression and like that, and like you just release some negative energy, I don't know, man. For me, there's times where I've just had to go and, fuck, why you know, just like scream at it. Why is this happening? You know, and just let it go. You know what I mean? But you got to be finding that place to go do it where your neighbor's like, what the fuck is going on? But I mean, screaming in a pillow, you know, just letting out some of that rage and energy, man, and just putting it somewhere else. It's, I don't know, it's helped me in times when I've just felt so bottled up, like, gosh damn, bro, I feel like there's something in me and I don't know how to handle it. You know, so my rage is just like, you know, and then all of a sudden it's that, like, I feel like I kind of got something off my chest. You know what I mean? I mean, just screamed it out to the universe, but it let out something that was just so in there, and I broke it loose. I don't know.
I think Taylor's looking through our souls.
Yeah, I know. Who are you watching right now?
Donald.
Okay, what you got going on?
Donald, you
Yeah, I was in a safe place when I was doing it.
I see these comments coming in, and there's so much I want to say on the comments too. But Donald, you were never allowed to have a voice, and so I'm really proud of you for finding your voice now. But you're still struggling with your voice. Like you've found the voice, but you're still not completely to the place where you're free with your voice. But you're getting there, and I'm just so proud of you for the progress you've made in that journey so far to get where you are. You make progress, and then I think you get scared and you pull yourself back.
Yeah.
Just get it, dude. Just freaking go for it. You get so many people who believe in you now. You get so many brothers. You are so surrounded by love now. Like, there's nothing you could say or do that any of us would be like, oh my God, Donald went too far. We're like, bring it. You are in such a safe space and so surrounded by love now that I challenge you to truly open up your voice I think that's probably your next obstacle is to truly come into your voice. You battle, I feel like you battled that for a long time. And now I think this weekend was important to you because you looked around and you saw people who like you felt acceptance and you felt love and you felt connection. Um, and I think this was life changing for you. And I feel like you're coming into your voice now. I think things in 2024 are going to be big for you. That book is done, brother. If you're wondering about a book, you said something about a book.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah, it's done. Don't even worry about the book. The book is done. You're there. Step into it. That's what I'm getting. I don't know about you guys. I could just be making shit up. I don't
No,
even
you,
fucking
you know
know.
what's crazy is I know Donald. I mean, I kind of know Donald a little bit, more than some, because we talk. So it's like when I hear you talking about him, you're hitting it on the dot with, I mean, the way I perceive things too. I mean, it's crazy. Because, man, this dude Donald is just a big
Donald, I watched
inspiration to a
you.
lot of us.
You
I mean, there's a lot of us that I think look up to him, you know what I mean? Like in,
I watched you Saturday. I watched you. And all I kept thinking was like, I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of Donald. I'm so proud of you. I don't even know you. And that's all I kept thinking was like, I'm so proud of him. Look at him. I don't know where you come from. I don't know your story, but wherever it is that you came from and where you are now, if it's not me, maybe it's not me. Maybe I was picking up on somebody else. I don't talk to dead people, but they hang out. I'm just like, look at him go. I'm so proud of you.
I,
Accept that.
yeah, I felt comfortable. I mean, for the first time in a long time. I'm usually that guy that kind of stands on the outer and looks in. Because, you get into the center and it becomes chaos.
You have just as much right to take up space as the rest of us, my dude. Do it.
I appreciate it.
Do it.
yeah, Eric, Donald has changed a lot, dude. I mean, since I've met him.
Yeah,
I mean, you could.
we could redo that interview. Eric.
You know what? I'm glad you guys. I'm glad you're our friend too, Eric, buddy. You're a good guy. Great energy, great aura to you too. But like, man, look at Taylor. She's just thinking, and she's in man. She's
I
not
know,
even
I'm
blinking
zoning
right
out
now.
so
She's
hard.
not even blinking.
I know.
Man,
Sorry.
she's starting to scare.
I need to come out
She's
of
looking
this.
deep,
I'm deep.
deep.
I've gone deep. I have.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
He was in those.
I mean, even
Yeah,
Eric
bud.
too. Like this whole weekend, each of you, as I was going around, and I was just like mentally, spiritually checking in, and just like each one of these people, I'm just like you guys don't even know my story. You don't even know my story. And when I tell you that I'm just so grateful to have met all of you, like I'm like I found my brothers, man. I found the people like that are supposed to be in my life, and that is just so amazing to me because well, I'm not going to go into my story. This isn't about me. But I got my own tragic things that have happened in life. And literally, it's down to kind of like me and my daughter now, just me and her. And even having her come out, she's also a little bit quirky like her mom. Um, but having her come out and be like clicking with everybody, like I don't know, her and Eric became like best friends overnight. I don't know what the hell that's all about. But I was like, Eric says hi to you on the podcast, and she came like running in, hi Eric, and I'm like, who? What?
Eric is a good friend to everybody. He
Yeah.
is,
Everybody.
man, just a lovable dude.
But
Man,
we all are battle buddies. We are all in this
yeah,
for the same reason because we've all been in the pit and we've all climbed out, and we all are like, I'm here to save as many people as I can through whatever our means is. If it's you write a book, Donald, with me, it's music. With Brian, it's crayons. I don't know. The thing is, you reach this
Craziness
point.
in one room. You're right, brother.
You
Amen.
reach this point where it's just all about love and compassion. And I've read the Bible front and back, dude, you know. And the one thing that stuck out to me for a really long time is the Holy Bible says God is love. God is love. God is love. You put a you get around people who actually exemplify love, and then you like start to get it. You start to feel like
Same here, Ron.
it's crazy, right? It's crazy.
You know what's
Um,
crazy is you take a whole bunch of people that are, we're not perfect. We're imperfect people. But you put us all together, put us in a perfect situation. You know what I mean? That's the crazy part about it. And everybody just, we all come together and we all come from walks of life, but it was just so, man, the aura, everything. I can't explain it, but I do get the chills when I talk about it. You know what I mean? Still. So, um, it was magical weekend for anybody that experienced it. You know what I mean? Especially that
isn't it a real
pre-party.
bummer that Shannon wasn't there? Because here's the thing,
Oh, yeah,
there are people
yeah.
who were not, but here's the thing, there are people who were not physically there. But tell
But
me
could
this, but
they will
did you
fit
do
right in?
not, no, did you not feel their spirit there with us?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
When we talked about Mike and we talked about Shannon, and we're like, there are
that's
people who
right.
are supposed to be here, and even though they weren't physically there, their names, their energy, everything
Mm.
about them kept coming up because we were like, they're in this with us. These are the people that are supposed to be here. Um, that's all. That's it. I mean, that's what I tell people. Like, that's love. That's the power
It
of love.
it kind of goes back to like how Ron's talking about. He met his wife the night he had a gun in his mouth, right? And so that person walked in his life when he needed that person. You know what I
I
mean?
don't
And
know
and
Ron's story. I don't know Ron Raleigh, but that sounds amazing.
right, and I mean, you could just tell, like, and that's just how it, I think, for a lot of us. Maybe we needed a certain energy or a certain person around us, and that gave us that, that trajectory going forward and helping you push, move. You know what I mean? And it is a powerful thing when you get involved with certain people in your life, and you can just feel the positive, and they make you want to be a good person. They make you want to do better. Like my wife, when I met my wife, you know what I mean? Like, she's probably the first person in the world that I was like just so transparent with. Like, hey, I'm telling you, here's all my things. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of tired of going through the crap. Like, I'll just tell you, here's my story. If you like it, come on in. If you don't, then, you know, next turnstile. You know what I mean? But found that person that just made me want to have a different outlook on life, and just gave me that power. And she actually helped me discover my PTSD and accept that part about it, the part that I just never wanted to settle with, in order, like, there ain't fucking nothing wrong with me type stuff. You know what I mean?
I said those words.
I mean, because there's a lot of us that think that there's nothing wrong with us, man, but everything else around us is not right. You know what I mean? But in our mind, we think we're right. But sometimes it takes another person
Can I just
to
tell you
help
guys, I'm
to
so
help them.
proud of you for being transparent enough, authentic enough to stand up and say, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. And then to share that with people and to be so vulnerable and open about it. Because, I mean, honest to God, 2 years ago, I went into crisis and I tried to quit my job. I tried to quit everything because I couldn't function. I couldn't function for 3 months. And nobody would let me quit my job. And everybody came in and surrounded me. And I realized how powerful the smallest gestures could be in those moments. And so many people think that because they can't do something big for you, it's not impactful. It has literally been every little small gesture that people have done for me that has made the difference. I want people to know that so bad. Pick up the phone and call. Don't text, just call.
And the problem I think that happens in life, we think a lot of things, but we let them go unsaid. There's
Yeah,
times where I'll think about my wife, like, man, she's doing such a great job, and I'm just thinking it. I should actually go tell her that as it's coming through, right?
yeah.
Because that thought is now left unsaid if I don't say it. You know what I mean? It's just a thought that ran through. It has no energy to it once I let it die out. But it adds so much more energy to it when you actually go and do it, right?
Your
And
wife is
like,
incredible. She's got such good energy about her.
yeah, I love my wife.
You
She's,
guys are so lucky.
I'm glad. I mean, like I said,
I'm just gonna stay here alone
took a
forever,
couple
guys.
rounds. It took a couple rounds to get there, but we got there. And
Man, like, of course, like that's just growth. That's just life. That's just coming together. But like, that's the good stuff. She cares that she loves you so much. She loves you so much. I could feel that so much from her. And it was so funny because she was like, "Go find Derek." she she just sent you up. Go find Derek. We're like, yeah, we're playing this card game. Go find Derek. Let us know if you need backup. I don't know, guys. I didn't mean to intrude on your podcast. I hear
no, we
people
actually
talking
appreciate
about
you coming in. This
spiritual
opened up
stuff.
a whole nother realm, and it really added on to what we're talking about. So it was perfect.
Yeah.
We do appreciate you
I
coming on.
I feel like I just talk crazy talk sometimes, because like I can't believe these are the words that come out of me, but ultimately at the end of the day, I trust myself, and I know there's so much that doesn't come from me when I zone out, man. That's not even coming from me when if it's speaking to somebody that's all I care about. But I I'm so proud of everybody that has gone through really horrible, traumatic things, and at the end of the day has had the courage to face them and be authentic about their pain. And everybody calls these things mistakes, and that's the word that's really been eating at me lately. Like, please don't call your life a mistake. Like, you're meant to go through hard things, and you're meant to make choices that maybe looking back on you would say I wouldn't make that choice again. But like, we're just here living life, man. Don't beat yourself up for it. Like, you can only do what you can do in the moment with the experience and the wisdom that you have. I'm not saying that's the case for everybody, but for the most part, I think we were all in that situation. I can look back now and be like, oh my God, why did I do that? Why did I let this person do this? Why did I do that? But at the end of the day, man, I look back on that person and say with love, you did what you knew how to do. Period. Period. You did what you knew how to do. If your son, Donald, was in your shoes at the age that you were, doing the things that you did with the experience you had, he can't say for sure what he would do. He doesn't know, you know?
I can see, that the path he's taking with his kids was definitely different than what I did.
Let your kid judge you. That's on him. Let him judge you. Because at the end of the day, when he finds out he's wrong, that's going to be a tough lesson for him to learn. Own your story. That's what I would tell anybody. Own your odyssey. Own your story. Own it, man. This is your life. Live the best life that you can. And maybe when chapter 2 it looks like shit, but by chapter 40 you're a freaking badass, You're killing it, man. You're changing people's lives. You don't just get there living a perfect life. Nobody's going to listen to somebody that's never made a mistake.
Yeah, you're right about that. Because I would tell you you're full of shit.
The best teachers are the people that have screwed up.
Yeah. Yep.
I just love you guys. I think you're awesome. And thank you for letting me crash in here tonight and give my 2 cents about things. I was vibing pretty hard. The past few days have been really strange. I've been vibing hard. Vibing high this week.
Well, no, that's good. We love it. I mean, I'm glad you're coming to share your vibe with us.
You guys are awesome. I love you so much.
We love you too. Thank you so much, Taylor.
I'm going to let you get back to your podcast now.
All right, good night.
Night.
All right, well, hey, man, this turned out to be a great show.
Absolutely.
And man, she hit the nail on the dot with me, bro, with so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, gosh, dang. I don't know how much more Taylor looking at me, man. She starts getting that, Starts getting that look, man.
Got to the point where, when I finally mentioned, I was like, she's looking through our soul, 'cause-
It's like, man.
and I was like, what is she saying?
Right? Like, she's kind of looking at you a little weird, man. What you know? Well, hey, we'd just like to thank everybody for, we appreciate you guys coming in the comment section. We had a lot of activity in the comment section. We really appreciate you guys, Joel, Ron, Shannon, Eric, Derek, everybody that came through. My buddy Christopher Andrews, Brian, Taylor. We had a whole bunch of people come through and say, some nice things. We appreciate you guys. Next week, it's going to be good old Bigfoot, Sasquatch.
Taylor.
So we're excited about that one. And what else, you got anything else, man?
No, other than ghosts are real.
Yeah. Well, I think at the end of the day, we both agree there's a negative energy, there's a there's a positive energy, and definitely come to that agreement.
The term ghost is just a term. What it really is energy and spiritual and everything else. And I think Taylor had a lot of positive. She said Barbara's seen one at her house. Look, Taylor, I'm a believer too. So absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to get on to next week too and talk about the good old Sasquatch and the Bigfoot, because I've grown up in my life, falling down that rabbit hole several times. So
absolutely.
All right, brother. Well, we appreciate everybody. I hope you guys all have a great weekend. Don't do nothing too crazy. And we'll see you all next Friday. All right.